Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
Day 5 of quarterback rankings week takes us to the SEC, and I'm going to preface this one by saying these are Ryan's rankings, so please let him have it in the comments. And Trey, who was Ryan's 14th ranked SEC starting quarterback?
Probably, obviously, the 14th ranked team in the conference as well. Number 14, Ken Seals of Vanderbilt.
I wish I could give him a little boost here, but man, he was bad. 5 TDs, 8 picks, 5.27 yards per attempt. I mean, it was
getting to the 100th decimal.
I know,
that's
it's
something.
like because it's like the worst in the nation. Is why. So
Okay.
You can't get worse than he did. Can't run. He's bad. His team's bad.
You could have rounded up to 5.3. I mean, come on, man.
No.
All right. Number 13 on the list, we got a guy who has transferred twice, Jack Abraham of Missouri.
Yeah, he's been around the block. This will be his 7th year in college. Wild ride for him. Started off at Southern Miss and was there for a few years, and for the better part of 2 years, he was the starting QB, and always seemed like a bit of a gunslinger. Threw way too many interceptions, but he did have some plays that were, looked pretty darn good. Then he transferred to Mississippi State, got hurt, and then he never played, but Will Rogers kind of took that away from him anyway. So there's no guarantee that he's going to start here at Missouri. Brady Cook, I think, is the main competition, who kind of showed some flashes last year, but so it really is up in the air. But I'm betting that Abraham will get it because he's got the experience edge. And I think it's just going to be kind of more of the same from him. I mean, I think he's going to have some plays that are good, but I think the consistency just won't be there. So I would be surprised if at some point you wouldn't see Cook.
Number 12, Zach Calzada of Auburn.
Yeah, he struggled last year for Texas A&M. 17 touchdowns, 9 picks, that's not the bad part, but 56% completion percentage, under 7 yards per attempt. Not the best numbers when you got a decent supporting cast and he had a pretty good run game to just kind of lean on. If you take out the Alabama game, which was an aberration for him, he was terrible. But
He blacked out.
He really did. He didn't even know what he was doing there, but he was great in that one game. Yeah, so anyways, and I've seen worse numbers, but not great. And then he's going into a situation here at Auburn where I don't think it's a better situation than it was at Texas A&M. So I mean, he does have Tank Bigsby to hand the ball to, but even Bigsby can't carry them. So I don't know, I have a tough time seeing how he's going to have a good year.
And Auburn's got a few guys in that quarterback room, so I guess you're saying Calzada's the favorite, but
yeah, yeah, for sure.
We'll see what happens. Number 11, another crowded quarterback room. This one probably even more crowded. You got LSU, and you have chosen Jayden Daniels as your projected starter.
Yeah, I think mainly between him and Miles Brennan. I kind of think. I mean, maybe you could throw in Garrett Nussmeier, but yeah. I think okay, fine. All three in.
Hey, let's go 4. Let's go. But I don't think.
The true freshman.
The freshman, Howard.
Walker Howard, was it not?
Yeah, Walker Howard. Yeah, he's probably 4th, but we'll see.
Yeah. I think I made this prediction a little while ago when Jayden Daniels first transferred, and then he didn't have the best spring, I guess, at LSU, but that's okay. He'll get better. I'm going to say he's the guy. I just think he gives LSU the type of QB that they want, I think, for this offense. His numbers did get kind of progressively worse there at ASU, but I really don't trust ASU's coaching staff. I think he probably wasn't put in the best situations there. I trust this coaching staff at LSU a lot more than the one he had in Tempe. So if he can kind of win the job, I think he can kind of regain some of his old form. I think there's still talent enough around him. The offensive line can't get any worse. I think they'd get a little better, but I think he'll do just fine if he does end up winning the job.
All right. We've got another Pac-12 to SEC transfer, number 10, Jaxson Dart, going to Ole Miss.
Yeah, tough kid to rank. If he does win the job, you actually do feel pretty confident that he'll actually probably do pretty well because he's got Lane Kiffin there. But again, I'm trying to rank, not based so much on situation, just what he got at the QB position. And there were some rumors that he didn't necessarily light it up in the spring. And of course, with Luke Altmaier could ultimately end up taking the job from him anyways. So there's no guarantee he's going to start. But anywho, at 10, it's not like he's a bad quarterback. He did have some pretty exciting times there at USC in his one season there, those 6 games that he played. USC had kind of given up. Their defense was bad. He didn't have a whole lot of support, no ground game at all to help him. So he came up with some good plays, and maybe he'll do pretty well here at Ole Miss. 10th is a fair spot for him.
Okay, number 9. I have to imagine one of the most difficult players in the country to rank. I think of all of this quarterback rankings week that we're doing, this is probably the toughest guy. Stetson Bennett at Georgia.
Yeah,
number 9.
So hard to rank.
National championship winner, Ryan.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Oh, Georgia fans are already at you, Ryan. They don't even want to hear your thoughts.
I know. I feel like some of them might agree. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe
in their heart of hearts,
right? Like he's limited. Stetson Bennett is limited. I mean, he put up great numbers, but if you can't just go based off of the numbers only, and don't take anything else into consideration. If you were just looking at numbers only, okay, yeah, he'd be a top 3 quarterback here in the SEC, but he was surrounded by such great talent, and he had one of the best defenses of all time to support himself, so he didn't have to go out there and carry the team at all. I gave him actually a little bit of a boost because he did have a good couple games in the playoffs, so I was impressed by that, and he did a good job. But he's limited athletically, he's limited with his arm. He was a good game manager for most of the year. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks out there in the country that would have won a national title being Georgia's quarterback last year. So he's so tough to rank, but there's a reason why I think he's not even sniffing NFL potential.
Fair enough. Number 8, Will Levis, Kentucky.
Yeah, he climbed up the rankings for me, obviously after the year he had. But I still think some people maybe be a little overrating him a little bit after last year. I've seen some rankings have him as high as 3rd in the SEC, and I just think I don't see that at all. No, and I'm at 8. I'm still like, I'm giving him a little bit of a pop, but I could even have him lower. 24 touchdowns last year, which is good, but he had 13 picks, which is not good. That's a lot of picks. And he had a good ground game to rely on. Chris Rodriguez, who was a good running back for them. So, and they had a good old line. But this year, he loses by far his best receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson's gone, which was huge for them. He had nearly half of the total passing yards from Will Levis. And then he also loses his second best receiver, Joshua Lee. So he's going to be thrown to some new faces this year. His numbers weren't all that great to begin with. I think he'll be worse this year. I mean, it's kind of weird because I have him ahead of Stetson Bennett, who had such great numbers, and Will Levis didn't. But the situations are just totally different. I think if you put Will Levis at Georgia, okay, he goes and probably wins a national title too. But I think Will Levis is solid, but I don't think he's great yet.
Okay, number 7, transfer from Oklahoma, Spencer Rattler at South Carolina.
Yeah, he's tough to judge. Obviously, OU quarterbacks, how do you rank them when they move somewhere else? Tanner Mordecai has done pretty well for himself there at SMU, but I do think he got a bit of a bad rap there maybe at OU after the leaving. He did complete 75% of his passes last year and had 8 yards per attempt with 11 touchdowns, 5 picks, so it wasn't like he was doing bad. It just they're used to just elite Heisman stuff there for 4 or 5 years in a row there. So that was a little frustrating, I guess, for them. But the year before, he had a really, really good year. Is he perfect? And did he win the Heisman like they're used to? No, but hey, I think he's pretty solid, and I think he's going to dramatically, obviously, improve what they saw in South Carolina last year at the QB position, which was nothing really. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I think he'll do pretty solid there.
Yeah, he's a difficult one to project.
Yeah.
Number 6, Max Johnson at Texas A&M.
He's in a battle with Haynes King. It's no sure guarantee that he'll be the guy, but he is the guy that I'm going to ultimately go with to win the job because I think he had a underrated season last year for a team that really, really struggled to run the ball at LSU. He had 27 touchdowns and just 6 picks, 60% completion percentage, 7.5 yards per attempt. not all conference type of numbers there, but for considering what he had around him, I think he did pretty good. That offensive line was just terrible. So I got to give him a lot of credit for that. I think at A&M, he's just going to have a better supporting cast. I think the offensive line is way better. Devin Achane, a running back, is going to help him. I think it's just they'll take a clear step forward at that position, and he's going to help Texas A&M's offense quite a bit.
All right, getting into the top 5 here. You're buying the hype here.
This is
Anthony Richardson at Florida. You got to sell me on this one.
Yeah, this is my boldish take here, Anthony Richardson, because you obviously haven't seen enough really to maybe justify putting him here at 5th. But I think this is a play for me on, yes, he's got a great athletic ability, but I like his coaching staff. I'm high on Billy Napier, Rob Sales, offensive coordinator. I think the system's going to fit him perfectly. It's a system that doesn't rely on quarterbacks throwing all that much. They had Levi Lewis at Louisiana, who it was like 60-40 practically. They ground and pounded it. Anthony Richardson can do that. He is a beast on the ground, and they're bringing in a couple offensive linemen, a good running back from Louisiana. So I think they're just going to put him in good spots and not have to, try to make him go win the game with his arm, which I think is going to be good. I think he'll have some big plays. I think they'll be able to take more advantage like they didn't have at Louisiana because Lewis just couldn't throw it. But I think he's going to surprise some people this year.
You make a good case, Ryan. Number 4, Will Rogers at Mississippi State.
Yeah, I'm high on Will Rogers. 18 touchdowns to 2 picks in his final 6 games, and completed north of 75% of his passes in those games. I'm thinking I might have him higher than most people do, but it's just the way he finished last year. His improvement from his first year has me excited to think what he could do this coming year. And I've said this before, but year 3 is usually when Mike Leach's teams, based off his past coaching jobs, when they really start to click. And I think you just kind of saw that going at the end of last year where they were getting it and Will Rogers was getting it. So going into his 3rd year, I think it's going to be he's going to have some Leach type numbers that you're like, oh yeah, there you go.
All right, number 3 on your list is KJ Jefferson at Arkansas.
He had a great year last year, and honestly, his numbers aren't too far off from even the guys ahead of him on this list. He had 21 touchdowns to just 4 picks. Great stats there. 67% completions, 9 yards per attempt, and he had a lot on the ground, over 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. So there's really not a whole lot of negative that you can point to for KJ Jefferson. He even did that with being a little hobbled at times. I am just a little concerned about how he's going to fare without Treylon Burks on the outside. I mean, he was nearly half of the passing yards that KJ Jefferson had. So that's my only major concern. It's just how do you replace that, and how is he going to look with the consistency without that guy? But he's a great quarterback nonetheless.
All right, number 2, Hendon Hooker, Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, he's really close to Bryce Young in my eyes. I mean, I am going to take Bryce Young as the number 1 guy, but I think it's closer than people think. Hooker's numbers last year, 31 touchdowns, 3 picks, almost 10 yards per attempt, 68% completion percentage, and he has a lot on the ground, 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. So if you look at stat-wise kind of lined up against Bryce Young, the only 2 stats where Bryce Young was actually better was passing yards and touchdowns. So, I mean, Bryce Young threw the ball a lot more, which makes it challenging. But, if you put Hendon Hooker in that Alabama offense, he's putting up insane, even godly and ungodly numbers too. So I think it's really, really close. I think, when I do the flip side though, Bryce Young, if he was Tennessee's quarterback, would Tennessee have had as good of an offense? There's sometimes fit makes a difference, but it's hard to judge that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to poke any holes in Bryce Young.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, I think it's real closer than people think. So I'm just trying to give Hooker a lot of credit here, even though Bryce Young is amazing.
All right, well, there's number 1. You gave it away, Ryan. Bryce Young at Alabama, Heisman winner. So you think he's pretty good?
Yeah. High up, yep. Usually you're pretty good when you win the Heisman. 50 total touchdowns, nearly 5,000 yards passing. So many clutch plays. Played Georgia twice and still had really good numbers. So did pretty well against them, especially the first time. So yeah, he's pretty elite.
All right. And that was only his first year as a starter, so not bad.
Yeah, true.
Let's get to the full list here for our YouTube viewers. Trey, did you have any disagreements, any observations?
Well, first of all, just in general, Ryan, this is one of your best episodes you've had.
Wow.
I was digging everything you were saying.
so nice
You
to
almost
me these
lost me
days.
there. You almost pitched a perfect game until that last Hendon Hooker Bryce Young thing, but all in all, it was very good. No, I like Hooker, but no, the thing is, and you mentioned it. I can't wait for the Georgia fans about Stetson Bennett. The thing, I don't like totally disagree with you. I see your point of view, but maybe he's one of those guys that now he's got confidence now in himself. Maybe he will just have a really strong year because he knows he can do it.
I mean, I think he'll put up pretty good stats again. I think he's still got a pretty darn good team around him, but we'll see. I don't think those numbers will be quite as good, but they're going to need to. I think with the defense taking a step back, he'll have to rely on him a little more.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, if he does have more high leverage throws, or if he's having to throw in, exactly, like game scripts that aren't super positive, how it will pan out. But so you could have ranked him. There could have been like 6 different spots you ranked him, and I'd be like, dude, I don't know how to rank Stetson Bennett. I'm fine with it. But my biggest disagreement, I would have Anthony Richardson lower. I hear you about the potential; it's huge.
Yeah.
But we still don't know if he's going to be an efficient passer. So that's just, somewhat of a question mark. That I think there's so many guys behind him that, like Spencer Rattler, like I saw him play really well at Oklahoma. I've seen even Max Johnson at LSU at least has. I mean, don't get me wrong, Richardson has more upside than at least Max Johnson. And potentially than Rattler, but I don't know. I would just need to see a little bit more before putting him that high. But
this is
it's your call.
This is a total projection call, right?
Yeah.
Like, it happens every year. You got QBs like if Bryce Young last year had not played a snap. You telling me you couldn't put him?
I know.
You had
I had him number 2
pretty much
on my list last year behind Matt Corral, and I got crap for putting him that high, and it turns out I was too low.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, another interesting fact I saw from these is that, or I just noticed, 9 of these players, 9 of the 14 transferred at some point in their career, which is the most in any conference. Though the Pac-12 actually, if you're counting JUCO, had 9.
Percentage-wise, yeah.
Yeah, Pac-12 was more. But anyway, that'll do it for this episode of the College Football Bros as Ryan looks over the list and checks my work there.
You're right.
But,
right.
Tomorrow, we're going to have or maybe not tomorrow, maybe it'll be a couple days. I don't know. We're filming these in advance, so who knows? But we're going to have our overall best 15 quarterbacks in the country. There's going to be a few of these guys on that list, so be sure to check it out. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.